on sustainable projects.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Good.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
Is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on what is another wonderful Wednesday. For some of us, we may have thought it was wet outside, but hey, that's probably not what it is. But it is for sure Wednesday. So let's make it wonderful. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Hey, give us a shout and share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you for sharing with us. Maybe we could offer up a prize. You could be the first to, cross the finish line and be the first to call and share a thought. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can, use the Flow toll-free line if you want. 1-800-534-8255. Flow toll-free call, 1-800-534-8255. And share with us your thoughts, your perspective, and give us a chance to engage you from the way you see it. Now, I want to share with you something that I had an opportunity to sit quietly with just two individuals earlier, and they were asking if we do, in fact, live in the 21st century with all the technology that is before us, if we do, in fact, seemingly champion a democracy that we seemingly tout so frequently and so publicly, why is it then that we don't? Even in the meetings where we volunteer, where even we are paid to be part of the board or the committee or the like, why is it that we don't share, not just openly and honestly, but objectively, impartially? He gave us an example. One of the two individuals said, was part of I'll use this phrase, it wasn't him, a task as a group to look at something, and the idea was to come up with, what is it that was going wrong and what it is that could be done to make it better. And as he, listened, he realized that they were all being, again, his words, diplomatic, polite, and very tentative. Till finally, one of the newer sort of members of the group said, but why are we always talking about this? Why don't we address what almost is the elephant in the room? Now, to fast forward after the fact, everybody was relieved that somebody was willing to broach the thing that everybody knew was the thing that needed to be said, but nobody was willing. And the individual said, listen, you may be thinking that I said this because I'm oblivious to the fact that I'm new to this discussion, or that there's a sense of being naive, or that because of the wealth or the age or the circumstance, you may think, well, I'm courageous. But the person shared, listen, at the end of the day, if in this space, being tasked with something, and you don't have the courage, you don't have the sense of safety to say what needs to be said, then what's the point? And that was what sort of gelled that particular group, that they concluded that when they meet in that space to discuss the thing that they were asked to discuss, there had to be a sense not only of what was shared would be held in confidence, not that any laws were being broken or any other things were being betrayed, or they were talking state secrets or the like. But in that space, as they were brainstorming, they needed to be reassured that there was a sense of safety, that whatever was put on the table was just that. It stayed within that space. It was discussed, and if it was discarded, only because something better came along. If it was added to something else and shaken and mixed and made better, well, it was because that was the objective. And having listened to the fellow, he said, listen, maybe for many of us, it's after a certain thing has happened, a life transformation, a sense of financial independence, something that may have put us to that place. Now, he shared that he had, a few years ago, just before everybody was subjected to what we all seem to be subjected to, been volunteering in one of the schools, and to see the very young children in one particular class being so nurtured and so encouraged by that particular teacher to just say and share. And then a few years up the ladder in the school, another teacher, and he was wondering, is it the age of the child? Is it the particular teacher? Or is it that the system has beat this level of creativity and exploration from our children, so that when they get to his age and they're retired, then you're no longer, do anything other than color by the numbers. Let's take this call. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dave.
How are you today, man?
Okay.
Good to hear from you, man. I'm hoping, you'll inspire us with some great insight.
Okay. Well, speaking about the Georgetown dump.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they trying to get it fixed up. They're trying to decide exactly what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if it's possible, but I would suggest if the government is able to, and if the foundation is good enough to do it, I was thinking about a lighthouse, a big lighthouse.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
It is seemingly the highest point, all right? So let me ask two things, if it's okay with you. I mean, don't cut you off. What else you want to share about that?
No, go ahead, man.
Okay. Let's take the second part of your comment, a lighthouse. So it is the highest point. Why would you put a lighthouse there? Because it's the highest point?
Yeah, and then, I mean, if it's the right size lighthouse, the right height, right size, then it would be something that boats are able to see from a far distance in case they need to.
Okay, well, you certainly would be something to consider. Now, you're probably much more knowledgeable about engineering and construction and structural integrity of buildings and the like. Not knowing much about that kind of stuff, and not knowing the particular ground that the dump is on, do you think that we could erect a lighthouse that would be structurally stable and safe on the highest point there?
That's what I'm saying now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure, but I know we had a lighthouse in Bosun Bay up on that hill, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that on quite a while now. So just a suggestion, Dwayne. So you know, I think it would look nice if they're able to do so and it's able to handle any type of weather.
Right.
I think it would be good.
I certainly appreciate not just your courage, but the way that you would evoke a thought. In saying a lighthouse, what if, argument's sake, hopefully not long from now, it's properly managed, it's safe to traverse the grounds. What if we make it a park and we make it an observation tower or something, where we can go up there and we can see, as far as the eye will take us, and we can see across the country, and not just a lighthouse, but it becomes some sort of observation tower, some point where we can go, and with the right equipment we can see beyond the horizon or as far out as possible. Right? Maybe the grounds itself becomes some sort of park-like setting. What about that?
Well, like you say, if the engineers see that it's possible, I think that would be okay too. And if we got that back in its financially, I don't think there's going to be any problem there.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly good to see the benevolence sometimes from that, that faction. But maybe there are other players, not just foreign investors, but perhaps our own homegrown, that could start to look within our own resources and not rely on others,
Yeah, and another thing about that, I think being that he's called this place home now, and he's doing very well for himself, I think at least when we're having celebrations, Cayman celebrations and so forth, I think he should present himself to the public and show his appreciation of being here, and thanking the Caymanian people for allowing him to be here, and not continue to be as though he's invisible. I don't as a Caymanian, I really don't appreciate that. Personally, I don't know about you, but
why is that? Why do you feel that way?
Well, I think he should have a little bit more respect for us, first of all. I've seen him once when he first came here in 1997. I saw him in Butterfield Bank by West Shore Center. That's the first and last time I saw that.
But I think let me put it my famous way. I hear what you're saying, but isn't it that some of us love our privacy? We're not showy. We rather just go and just exist and be quiet. People don't need. I mean, there are many of us that are loud and bumptious and want to be seen and heard, even when we don't have anything to contribute. Some of us just like to be quiet and just blend into the fabric.
Well, I think he should present himself to the public, like I said, especially when we're having celebrations, Cayman celebrations and so forth. I think that should be a time for him to present himself and thank the Caymanian people and show his appreciation for us allowing him to come here and to do as well as what he's doing. I don't think he should continue staying invisible, and then when he's dead and gone, we still don't know who that is. Okay,
well, fair enough. I mean, and that is a perspective. So let me engage you with two other things. One, not only probably has he done well, maybe doing better since he was probably doing well before he came, but do you not think some of the things, the scholarships, the commitment to education, the investment, the employment, the public spaces, the political sort of contributions and all that, don't you not think that he may, or the entity may have already visibly demonstrated its appreciation, commitment, by doing some of the things that's been done?
Well, that's all good, Dwayne. For example, we have Mr. Imperado, for example, and that's a gentleman. You would see him practically anywhere sometimes in Cayman. So that is an example I'm showing you. When you call this place home, you should feel at home.
Right. No, you have a point. I mean, but twofold, right? One, maybe we as a society need to be more welcoming, more inclusive, and willing, like you're doing, willing to share publicly not only our praise and appreciation, but public chastising. I mean, there are some people here that whether they have wealth or not financially, they lack, in my view, integrity, any kind of social ethos. I mean, they're little or nothing, right? But we celebrate them. So whether it's a corporate entity, but what about banks, financial services, law firms, accounting, other places? Would you not say that some of them have benefited greatly? Not just the entity, but the employees, the partners, the major principals in those organizations have benefited significantly, more so than they probably would anywhere else, by being here. Should we not also require them to do likewise?
Well, I mean, Mr. Benton wasn't afraid to show nobody when it comes to being a big boss in a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, he drove one black Ford truck for about 10 years. So, I mean, I just think it's just the right way of doing things when you call a place home, and you're improving daily here in the Cayman Islands. I think it's just fair and right to show his appreciation and not be as though he's.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just asking that in addition to him or the organization, should not that same mantra apply to all and sundry alike? And if not, why not? You know, and probably on top of that, if we have good people, whether they're being very quiet and doing things that you know that is being done, no ulterior motives or nothing too public. On the flip side, if there are some people that, in my mind, you can't money can't buy class, right? So if these people have nothing to contribute, you know, other than their arrogance and insolence, why is it that we're embracing it? Why don't we just take them out and tie them to a bench and leave them there for a couple of minutes to think things through?
Well, in a way, I understand how these people feel having so much money, because right now the richest man from China, I don't know if you know, but he has a house in Norwest Point, and he's moved his headquarters to the Cayman Islands. And his son has taken over the business from here because he said that the Chinese government were taking too much tax from him. So he moved his headquarters here to the Cayman Islands, and he has a house right here in Norwest Point in West Bay. And I mean, he's not building up around Cayman like what Dad is doing, but only God knows what he has in China doing. He probably has buildings 150 floors high in the middle of China.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We all have different objectives, right? Some of us, you know, approach things for a certain reason. Some of us, you know, I'll anyway. You have a point. You know, others will agree with you. Some will maybe take issue. You know, what else you want to share with us?
No, man, just cool, doing.
Just cool, man. Hey, thanks again, right? And call us and share your thoughts anytime you wish. All right. Okay. Cool. Listen, let's pause and take a break, and maybe that caller's point you may want to take on board. And the question that we'll ask as he said that, what about the rest of us? Caymanian, because we go back generations. Caymanian, because we've been here for decades. Caymanian, because if you put it this way, the ink hasn't yet properly dried on the certificate. If we're living here, we're benefiting from being here, are we contributing? Or are we just taking? And while you think of that, what about some of the people that move about our communities? However they treat us, whatever our perceptions are, if they are less than stellar, what are we doing about those people? You know, a very honorable, venerable lady, you know, Miss Lucille Seymour, and as we just recognized her publicly again, you know, she would call sometimes and talk about the yaga yaga, you know, or however she put it. Take from her as an elderly actively engaged person in our community, as I've taken and inferred from what she shared, if the behaviors of some are less than stellar, what are we doing to either bring them into an understanding of expectation or sometimes helping them to move along? Think about those two things and take me to task if you want. Hey, it's a Wednesday, no? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Ransomware, DDoS, malware, phishing. If you don't know what those mean, you're not alone. But if you aren't protected against those cybersecurity attacks, then your business is at risk. Don't leave your data or your business vulnerable. Get Digicel Business Protect. Simpler, smarter cybersecurity. Visit our website, www.digicelbusiness.com, to request a callback or call us now on 623-2499.
Approximately 600 children aged 3 and over are enrolled in local early childhood centers this academic year. 218 families sought educational funding through the Early Childhood Assistance Program. 77% qualified for funding. See if your child qualifies and secure financing before September by downloading an application form from the Ministry of Education website at www.gov.ky/education and emailing the completed form to ecap@gov.ky by June 30. For more important ECAP application dates, follow Cayman Islands Education on Facebook and Instagram.
It's Cash Whiz Cayman Kids Got Talent Show
2022.
Calling all kids 11 to 17 years to showcase their God-given talent and win cash and prizes. Registration ends June 18 and forms are available at your schools in Cash Whiz Cayman. Limited space, so register now. Cash Whiz Cayman Kids Got Talent
2022.
Call for more information 321-7274 or 927-6352.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. 949-8037. Or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts. Now, the caller, just before the break, suggested, well, why don't we put a lighthouse on the dump? And might be something to consider. And I hope that we, just like the example I was speaking of earlier where the gentleman was saying, listen, if you're part of a committee, task force, whatever it is, and if you're tasked with something and you and the other members are not, in a sense, having a sense of safety while you're in that committee, in that meeting, that room, that space, to discuss and to voice an opinion, to share your thoughts, then what's the point? And maybe that's the challenge that we're having. So that gentleman's perspective, very publicly, we are asking ourselves, have we created that safe, nurturing space in our society that supports the democracy where people can share their views? Now, you might say yes, you might say, oh no, boy, you better not say anything, because at the end of the day you'll be, victimized and intimidated, castigated, ostracized, and otherwise relegated to the back burner. And hopefully that's not the case. Now, to think otherwise, we might be considered to be naive. But in sharing that, let's ask two things. He referred to it as the Georgetown dump, and I'll put emphasis on Georgetown. When it was suggested that we should move it to Botanic, I asked the question then, as I've always asked, and I'll ask now. When it comes to something that is of national importance, now, while you think of that, let's ask ourselves, when we hear the turtle farm, however we have it named these days, do you still see it as a West Bay attraction, as a West Bay thing? The Botanic Park is at Frankstown Northside, Pedro, St. James. No question that the East End blowholes aside, or the Erect, up there is in that area. But are they not national attractions and treasures? And if so, should we not be looking at them with a sense of national importance? So with the Georgetown landfill, I don't, for 1 second, hesitate to say that the trash that is collected from our households, that the wonderful men and women, very early in the morning, before many of us, have gotten a good start in the day, are already well into theirs, and they come and they collect it in a very responsible, and from my personal observations, a very respectful way, and go about it. And by the time we get going, it's already done. All of that garbage, whether it's collected in East End or West Bay or any point in between, ends up in the same space. So the landfill, the dump, however we term it, is something that serves the interests of the country as a whole. There have been suggestions in the past that perhaps what is collected on the Brack and Little Cayman should be ferried across to Grand Cayman for processing. Now, do we do that? And to what extent? Well, it seems to be part of the national agenda. Now, in saying that, let's go back to the space of asking ourselves how we look at things. And his comment, like others, how many times we say only what we want to say to the people that we think it's safe to say it, and yet hoping that gets to the ears of those who we conclude are in a position to do something about it. Now, what if it doesn't? And it's because of our self-censorship, our fear, reticence, and just probably from, in our minds, constant examples of what happens to people when they stick their heads up. Now, if that is the perception, or if that is the reality, and the consequence is one and the same, if it leads to us not saying, doing, acting, or otherwise volunteering or contributing, then not only are we doing ourselves a great disservice, but we're doing the country. How can we tap into the resource that is within the country? Now, let's cast that net a little wider and insist that we include all of us. There are many of us who have very, very sinister motives, no question. Some of us have very obvious ulterior motives, no question. And there are some of us that are savvy, very skilled and strategic, that we can manage, massage, manipulate the message in such a way that we seem to be so innocent, and yet, the only people that are perhaps are being fooled at the end of the day are the ones that are affected most by it. So if we can, then let's discard that motivation and let's do the thing together, because it's the right thing to do for all of us. And although we may spell it T-H-I-N-G, perhaps we should say it the way it is, T-I-N-G. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome, and thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Captain.
Buenas tardes. My Cubano friend, how are you, man?
All right.
Hey, good to always hear from you, General. Always good, sir.
Good. I might say Maganda Umaga as well. Maganda Hapon.
Boy. You see, it's people like you that help us to be inspired, and encourage and understand that there's a safety not only in numbers, but there's a safety in self, who have the resolve to speak publicly, huh?
Yeah. Just have your homework done when you want to speak,
Yeah, man.
However, you could be just as right as this afternoon, and people will still have some sort of a negative comment to make about you.
Sadly true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. However, I went down by the Burger King in downtown today.
Mm-hmm.
On the waterline, I should say, shoreline.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 cruise ships that was in there, they blow their horns for Captain Gleason Ebanks,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was very, very respectful, very Caymanianish, and we had a good gathering there for probably 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And after that, we set off with three, not guns, but three verbal salutes of hip hip hooray. And that was well taken by the audience that was there.
And this is where, I stood on the periphery and just looked on, and it was emotional because it strikes the home, right? And it's good that occurs, good that Mr. Raymond does something similar on the BRAC and the like, but I keep asking myself, and I don't say this not ignoring that it may sound disrespectful to some, but when are we going to get to a space where we honor our own while they're here? And when we miss that opportunity, that we don't do more for when they're gone, so that it's not only that we help the legacy to be honest, but that we, through that legacy, serve to inspire others. If I might, just as an example, if you indulge me, take Mr. Benson, for instance, right? We hear things sometimes being said that give credit to other people, and they may have been very constructive when it comes to the legislation that, set our financial services sector up the way it is. But I think that as a statesman, Mr. Benson would rank highly. And if we're doling out, knighthoods and awards, if we're naming roads, if we're naming things, Sir Benson, would probably be fitting, at least, to my perspective.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of people like Mr. Benson, it's a thing that kind of very, not discouraging, but disheartening to see what has been coming forth in this island as far as Caymanians is concerned, those that are gone along and those that are still here. But you know what? You have to believe in yourself.
Right.
That is the key. If you don't believe in yourself and somebody else can sort of tell you what you look like or what you should be, then you're playing a lost game.
But you have to love yourself too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's I'm told there's a fine line between being very confident and being arrogant. I'm not quite sure the lines as fine as some would say, but we don't seem to want to draw alongside each other. We seem to be more willing to celebrate the successes of others, see others achieve greater things than our own. Until we understand why that is and stop it, I don't know that we can get in a rail that's beneficial.
Well, you're certainly right, and that is the mindset that has been, for the want of a better word, sort of forced on Caymanians, that you take foreign influence, foreign culture, and recognize that above your own.
You say forced, but how do you mean? How is it forced on us?
It is forced on in a way by verbally. You have those that in Caymanian generally do not talk enough. That's our problem, not to make allegations or something that you cannot prove, but talk up for yourself. Learn to talk. Come on. Don't make somebody talk you down. In recent times, I was confronted by people of all mouth. And at the end of the day, I said, look them straight in the face with a bold line and say, Bobo, you don't know who you're talking to. Because if you think that you're going to talk me down, you better take an about turn. Okay? This is what's happening to us. We just take what other people say for granted and go along with it. Look where we are now.
Right.
A while ago, you're talking about the environment department. The amount of trash and the garbage that is spread island-wide. Okay? And I will say this. I don't know how many Caymanians are into it, but certainly people that come here on permits, they couldn't care less. They get these paper plates, eat the food, and throw it on the side of the road. Look at the junk cars. Why, in God's name, that we don't have somebody with enough interest, enough guts to say, look, this has to stop. Not just verbally, but they have to put their shoulders to the wheel and say, we're going to clean the place up.
And keep it that way.
And you have to understand, if we're not careful, we are not going to be a third world country. We would raise the bar like a fifth world country. Where are they going with this little beautiful island that is changing so rapidly? What's going to happen? It's not a good situation that's facing our island. And people, oh, well, you know, I can't say this. Hello, tell from anybody from the governor straight down, I am not being disrespectful, but they need to know, and some people in authority, that are some indigenous Caymanians that are very upset with what's taking place in this island.
That is where I think we need to draw alongside each other, and where we need to champion things collectively and publicly, and appreciate that, you know, this catboat will sail better if we all understood, you know, we have a shared interest. I appreciate your thoughts, my friend.
All right, just have a pleasant day. So I'll give you another chapter another day. All right?
There you go, man. Always willing to hear from you. Blessings to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Can we take one more before we hit the break at the news? Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Oh, hello?
Hello, Sterling.
How are you, ma'am? I'm. Let me publicly apologize. I misunderstood the communication. Maybe I'm looking at the time incorrectly. Anyway, let's chat. And then we take the news. Apologies, Mr. Paul.
and then continue after the news.
Paul, what will we do? Keep talking. No, I should have looked. You talk to me. You know what? My deference is always to you. So, please, thank you for calling, and let me hear the good things you have to share.
But I want to continue after your news.
All right. Well, we got what, 5 minutes or so, Paul?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes. You go ahead, man. You listen. Let's make hay while the sun shines.
All righty, good. How are you doing today?
I am good, you know. I am good. I had an excellent conversation that not only motivated and inspired, it intrigued and invigorated. I had a chance to draw a breath, and I hope and continue that continues. So I am blessed.
Amen.
Amen.
Makes two of us. Yeah. I was listening to you just a few minutes ago. I just actually starting to listen to you. So you were talking about Mr. Benson and you know, when someone passed on, and you know, something about why don't we do more when the individual is still alive? And if I'm rewording it in my own way, but
no, you have the right. Yes, well.
I was just talking to a family member this morning, and I was talking about the same thing. You know, the thing with life, Sterling, if you can't give someone all of the praise and glory while their eyes are open, they can't see the beautiful flowers, and they can't hear the music playing, and they can't hear all of the good what those things are to read that in the service now. Oh, how good you was, and you were
the obituary and the life story and the thing.
Yes. You need to hear all that while you're alive, you know. And then naming places after the person is passed on. Come on, man, name them while they're alive, you know.
Yeah, there was a fellow who I want to say this because I don't want it to be a personal attack or even to be perceived as such, but he probably was credited, and I consider with some level of contempt, you know, with saying, oh, you know, you're not supposed to name things after people while they were alive and all this. Hey, listen, like what you said, if we can't tell people we love them while they can hear it and respond, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah. But I was saying also, Sterling, the Georgetown Hospital, okay, they got this thing called now urgent care, okay? if you take a kid at 7 years old to urgent care and got to spend 3 hours at urgent care for a 7-year-old child to see a doctor, I think that is a little bit too much on a child that was in school proper all day. You know, time to go home and get wind down and get ready to eat and go to bed and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the child got to wait 3 hours before they can see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that is fair, Sterling, to our children.
Right. What I don't want to be unfair to you, we have the news. You want to continue after the break and share your thoughts? Okay, let's do that. All right, stay tuned, please.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Karl Landsteiner was honored with the Nobel Peace Prize for developing the ABO system of human blood grouping in 1930. World Blood Donor Day is June 14th, saluting Karl's birthday. On behalf of our community, we, Rotary Club Central, thank you, the staff of the National Blood Bank. We thank you, our heroes, blood donors. Every day becomes World Blood Donor Day for we who need that pint to live. Call the National Blood Bank 244-2674 or 244-2669. Donating blood is an act of solidarity. When blood is needed, nothing else will do. A message from Rotary Central and the Cayman Blood Donor Service. Rotary serves to change lives.
If you care about your car's performance and fuel economy, you must fill up at Jose's Escape with the new Pure 93. Experts know that the higher the octane rating, the better your engine will perform. Pure 93 is the highest octane fuel available in Cayman. Protect your car against pre-ignition and engine knocks. Top up your tank now with Pure 93 at Jose's Rubis and enter to win an awesome track bike. But there's more. Jose's offers 2 lateral flow test kits for only $10. The best KN95 masks, 2 for $5, and 10 stylish black surgical masks are only $5. Share the love. Purchase Reflections gift certificates and enter to win the amazing Trek bike.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane. Debris includes roofing materials, tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles and must not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Public Health reported 101 cases of COVID-19 for Sunday and Monday, with one new case in the Sister Islands. There are 984 estimated active cases of COVID-19, with 7 people currently hospitalized. The 7-day rolling average for Tuesday was 70. In international news, the U.S. is expected to announce Wednesday that it will send about $1 billion in military aid to Ukraine, the largest single tranche of weapons and equipment since the war began, in an effort to help stall Russia's slow but steady march to conquer the eastern Donbass region, U.S. officials said. According to the officials, the aid is expected to include anti-ship missile launchers, howitzers, and more rounds for the high-mobility artillery rocket systems that the U.S. forces are training Ukrainian troops on now. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss details not yet made public. Meanwhile, U.S. government advisors met Wednesday to decide whether to endorse COVID-19 shots for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers, moving the nation closer to vaccinations for all ages. Kids under 5 are the last remaining age group in the U.S. to get vaccinated, and many parents have been anxiously awaiting Food and Drug Administration action to protect their children. If all the regulatory hurdles are cleared, shots should be available next week. And Ford is recalling 2.9 million vehicles that might not shift into the correct gear and could move in an unintended direction. The National Highway Safety Administration says it has 6 reports of property damage and 4 reports of injuries potentially related to the problem. Among the problems, the transmission on the affected Ford F-cars and SUVs may not be in the park position, even though the shifter position indicates that the vehicle has shifted to park. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The Department of Labor and Pensions reminds employers and employees that the pensions holiday ends on June 30th. The deduction of pension contributions resume on July 1st, and the payment of the mandatory 10% pension contributions is due by the 15th of the following month.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thank you very much for joining us. And thanks to this wonderful lady for just being so patient and gracious and holding on. Welcome back, Mom. Thank you for staying with us.
Yes, Sterling, as I was saying, so have a 7-year-old child sitting at a urgent care for 3 hours, especially at night. It was in a detrimental situation with the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that knowing that COVID is still raging out there, sitting down there for 3 hours with a mask on, I think it's devastating for a child to be sitting with a mask on, waiting to see a doctor. I feel personally, well, let me tell you this. I called up there last night, and they put me through there, and one time the phone didn't ring, and then I called back, and the phone rang out in urgent care, and nobody picked up on the phone to say, well, how dog cat, we close, or we can't answer your call right now, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
You're left in the dark, Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
But as I listen to you, I understand sometimes that for us, on the receiving end, there is a level of urgency and impatience and perhaps unfounded concern because we may not necessarily know. But I wonder to what extent within the Cayman context, if we were to look at the wait times here at the HSA or physicians and look at it for the places, not just to see the physician but to get an appointment. I mean, I'm told in the UK and in Canada, it could be 6 months, 8 months to get very, very necessary surgery just to get the appointment. I wonder if we're recognizing what we have and maybe working to improve where we can, but appreciative of what we have.
Well, I take all those words you just said there, but the fact of the matter is, Sterling, we use our children every 4 years for our political arena, and when we get in there, we kind of like forget them to a degree. They should be on the front page at all time, and regardless in happiness, sickness, or death, or whatever the case may be. And like I say, with COVID going on, why would you have a child sitting there for 3 hours with a mask on? That is stifling for a 7-year-old child. You understand?
What are we doing in schools, though? I mean, are they not
They're not wearing a mask in the classroom. They're putting them off and on.
Okay.
But if you're sitting at the urgent care or emergency, you got that mask on until that doctor call you in, and then you probably can't even take the mask off. The mother got to talk to, and she got to talk with her mask on to make the doctor tell the doctor what's wrong or what they feel is wrong. You understand?
I hear you.
But Sterling, also too, there was a lot of big up there a couple of months ago in regards to the new pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
I listen now. I'm not criticizing it, but when it comes to customer service, I have a zero tolerance for bad customer service to a degree. I know people get sick and they're out with COVID and yakety yak, and yet we got so many people unemployed in this island that looking a job and can't get a job. There at that new pharmacy, they got like about 4 or 5 windows. When you go there, 99.9%, it is one person come in to call the number. They had it that you could just go and press the insurance on the board. Now they got to change it. You got to put your name in and your birth date.
Mm-hmm.
And the security got to help with the board. He got to open the door half the time, and he got to make sure you sanitize your hands. That man got a big job at that pharmacy. They're doing a good job, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But look at what they're going to do to the people. People got to call their people to find out what their birth date is. And I just couldn't put 56. I had to put 1956. It would not accept 56. I do that thing with just 56. But in that computer now, you got to make sure you put 1956. But I am not complaining. I'm just saying that we're going to get all of this service, and we don't have the bodies and to accommodate the service. Mm-hmm. And our children need to be taken care of more quicker when we go to these medical places, from dentist right down to a doctor appointment or just a walk-in. Mm-hmm. They should be looked at. A couple of months ago, there was a kid up there. She had some disability about her. And they had her there waiting with all of these adults that can't get in because then something happened that all the doctors was working like they all was off a schedule. And one woman had to say, come on, man, you only take this child in and do what you have to do with her to get her back to normal. And sure enough, they took her in, and the person came back out like nothing was wrong with her. You understand? Mm-hmm. We got to do these things a little bit more, have more time in when it comes to our children. Yeah. And I tell you one thing, I've been calling whoever's in charge of this MP hospital situation, and I can't get no response, no answer, no nothing. But I'll tell you what, Sterling, you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I tell you what, we got to do better.
Yeah.
We got to do better with our children, because that's why our children can't prosper and do better in the schools, at homes and stuff, because then they're being neglected in every capacity. They're neglected in school, they're neglected at home. Mm-hmm. They're bullying and they're fighting and they carry on because nobody's setting an example. Yeah. The very house of Parliament not setting an example when they get up and they're arguing and carrying on and making our children see all of that foolishness and make them believe that's what's all about. You can do all that up there and get away with it. You don't have some discipline, and we don't have no discipline in Cayman. Dog eat dog, you know?
Yeah, well, yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for always. No, man. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Hey, thanks very much. Right. All right, right. Got a couple more calls. Let's take them all. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. 1-800-534-TALK is that floor toll-free line. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hey, how are you, sir?
Oh boy, I tell you, I am so related to this call. I love when she talks about stuff that is so important, yet it seems to be ignored in different, with different people who might be able to help us. But I wanted to say something today because I didn't call in that often, but when I call in, I try to at least have something important to say about things that I see that are going wrong in Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that have bothered me, Sterling, for many years now, is the fact that, and especially since this pandemic thing came out, and then the tourism and all that, and a lot of poor people who were paying rent, could afford to pay a little rent, before this thing happened, before this pandemic and all this happened, they are now taken advantage of by greedy, not real landlords, somebody who's got a room in the house that they can rent and charge what they want because they know the people are desperate. Now, my question is this. I spoke to a young lady the other day, and she was telling me she works in the tourism business, and she does crafts and stuff like that. But, of course, those people are really hurting now. If they don't have their own little house, they have to look for a place to rent. And these greedy, and most of these people are not Caymanians. The got Caymanians are a part of it. But a lot of these foreign nationals, they come here and they got status now. They get a little old house and they see how they can exploit. I see down in Bursty Hill there. There's one house down there. I don't know whose it is. But it's got two apartments and it got 6 cars in the yard. That means the 6 people is probably living in them 2 little apartments. And I don't know what it looked like inside, but I'm saying that when you're desperate to get a roof over your head, so to speak, you'll do about anything because you don't want to sleep on the street. Now, the thing I don't understand is why hasn't government, not this government in particular, but governments over the years, have not got, when they shouldn't allow people that, like these people I'm talking about, that rent these apartments, they don't have no electric, sometimes they don't have the water running, sometimes all this stuff is going on. But they're allowed to rent there and collect the money from the poorest of us. We have to stop letting these things. We need an inspector. Anybody, and this is what I want to say. Anybody out there who's being taken advantage of by these greedy landlord or house owners that try to exploit this situation, to go to the authorities and give them their name, their address where they're staying, and the owner of the house, and ask them to come inspect their apartment. You need to go inspect these things before people are allowed to collect money off of these things. You see, we don't have anything like that. Nobody goes there. People can rent a caboose and they get, you know what I mean? We got to stop. We got to stop letting people come here, use us because we've always been known to be kind and generous and stuff like that. But these people, these dogs, I call them dogs, that come here and do these things, they are the ones that are ripping us off and giving us a bad name. This should anybody that can't give the proper thing to or have a place that they got the water, running water, they got this, they got that, and everything. Government should go in and say, no, you're not going to do it. You're going to fix it up if you want to rent it. But you see, we don't have nobody to go inspect these places. So I suggest that anybody who's being taken advantage of by any house owner or any apartment owner, they don't maintain the place. That I talked to somebody yesterday. They were telling me that they do it. And here's another one. The same thing happened. Now listen to this thing. And these are poor people. They don't understand mortgages and all that. They figure if they don't have to pay their rent, the bank can take it and they can sell it for whatever they want. They don't give them a penny over the balance on your house. You see, these are things that happen in Cayman. The good book says, Sterling, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And this is what's happening in Cayman. We've put money, some people have put money in front of everything else. And therefore, we're not watching, oh, Lord Jesus, help us. I pray for this island every day. I ask God to give us strength and direct us and show us the shortcomings we have, because we're not doing what's right in God's way. So I say to government, have inspectors go out to check these rooms or these apartments or something that they clean. I want the people to complain to government. The government should have a place where they can make these complaints. And they go name the owner of the place, name the address, give them the address and their name, and go in there, and then the government should have inspectors to go out to look at these places and say, not today, boo-boo, you're not going to rent this no more for X number of dollars. It has to be fixed up because, you're endangering the life of these poor Caymanians that have to rent, or not just Caymanians, but poor people that have to rent from you. And we need to do it. We need to do it soon because as time goes on, it becomes, the longer you let it slide, then it becomes the norm, you see? So we have to catch it in the bud and stop letting people take advantage of us, especially the poor.
How do we do that?
How do we do that? Have rules and regulations in the law that says it can't happen. In other words, anybody who, first of all, if you're not licensed to if you don't have a thing to rent and stuff like that, you must have a license to be able to rent to people. That's one of the things. You should, or license should have that be qualified. The apartments or the houses should be qualified for rental. And to do that, you got to have inspectors there. You check it out, do all the things there, and if it passes the inspection, then you say to them, you're allowed to rent. But if it didn't pass the inspection, then they say you say to them, well, sorry, you got to do this, you got to do that, or you can't rent. You can't rent, and this is only to protect the poor, the disadvantaged. And the more these things happen, and then these people get desperate. The poor people get desperate, then the guy kick them out and stuff like that. And they don't seem to know that they have any resolve or anything. So they kind of give up, and then it's so sad. It's so sad.
As I listen to you, I'm inclined to share that laws are one thing, and it's important to have laws on our books to speak to certain things. But isn't it the enforcement of the laws, and perhaps almost as important, if not more so, whether you have a law or whether you have the enforcement of the law? It's the ethos in this society that may necessarily not even require the law. If, for instance, as you shared, let's take rental. You have a space that you're renting, or whether it's a room in your house, whether it's an attached or detached space on your property, whether you as an investor have a series of rental properties, again, as one block or as, many individual units spread over, many parcels. What if your ethos was one, you just collect the rent, you exhaust as much as you can from the people, and you don't provide a level of service? Or if it was that you absolutely ensuring that the place is safe, clean, habitable, the rent is fair, not exorbitant. Which one of those do you think would create a better society?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that I'm saying that there are those, not everybody doing that, I'm saying there's some of those greedy people that the love of money, that's where the love of money comes in. They don't want to spend $2 to do anything, to improve anything, because they got these people scared now that if you don't pay your rent, I'm going to throw you out, and nobody wants to get thrown out. So they use that over their head. You see, and what government comes in, government says if these people, anybody who's renting for a room or a little place or something like that, and it's not, they don't have running water, or they don't have this, or they don't have that, something like that, they can go to the authorities and say, here's the place where I'm staying, here's the number of the place I'm renting, and this is what I wanted to complain about. We don't have running water, we don't have this and that and the other thing. And what I'm saying is, with that, then government got something to step in there and say, look, that means I'm going to send my inspector over there, and I'm going to take a look at it. And if it's not right, you're not going to be able to rent this to anybody ever, because we want it right when we have people coming in there, especially poor people.
But as I'm listening to you, I'm having an exchange with two listeners who are sharing some thoughts. And I'm trying to gauge from them that these are two independent, probably unconnected, and I appreciate them listening, but also understand that, for many of us, we're not always able to weigh in then and there verbally, right? These comments sort of connect in the sense that as Cayman is changing, are we mindful that the views and values of others are being not just imposed but superimposed? I responded asking, well, how do we ensure that there's a shared ethos? And the response is that, we're like in a heated economy. I'm paraphrasing, right? And everything's moving so fast that we don't have time to catch our breaths.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You see, growth. I always tell this is a quote that I use often. What has happened to us over the years? We've sort of fell into this trap of growth. Physical growth and everything else. And there's nothing wrong with growth. It's okay, but it must be sustainable. When it's not sustainable, you're gonna suffer for it down the road. Because like what I see now, we're destroying all the foliage in this island to build these styrofoam boxes because somebody gets a permit from government, and government makes some money from these permits, and the contractors are busy, and this one is busy and that one is busy. Now, it's nothing wrong in the sense that it's good. It employs workers that of the construction trade and all that. But then look at the thing that's happening now. We have workers, construction workers from every nation in the world coming to Cayman now. They're here, and they're here, for some of them. And what I'm saying is this. We're not making anything but a work permit fee out of these people. Okay? And what government should say, well, look, we like it, what the old guys should say, when Botanic was there, they say, well, guys, we'd like to have you come in and do something in Ireland, but we can't, we don't want to do it too fast. We want to take our time and make sure we're in control. But now, everybody's got these projected, what we did that's wrong with the worst thing we ever done that we find ourselves in trouble sometime is when we make these projections. Remember last year or year before last, years ago, we had made projection about how much money we was going to make on tourism in the coming years and all that. You see where we at now?
But see, that's the thing, right? It's always about projections, right?
Projection, but don't base what you spend on what your projections are. If you got the reserve to do it, that's the key. If you have that reserve that you can say, but I'm going to take, $20 million to do this and do that, and we need that or that, But look at the concessions we gave to these so-called developers that were coming here. Look at the Beach Bay. There's a big article in the paper now about Beach Bay.
Right.
$25 million. You tell me that would have been better off if government had put that in low-cost housing for the poorest of the poor? That's what I'm saying. Stop this foolishness about concession. These people come down here to make money, and they take advantage of everything we give them.
But see, okay, I'm glad you referenced Beach Bay because maybe or recently there been a meeting in the community, and the parliamentarians in attendance, hearing the concerns from the residents, hearing the presentation from the developers as to the money that could be injected in the economy and into government's coffers. But again, a very large development like that, is that something that is, in our minds, only concerning and impacting that particular community, or is that sufficiently large enough that it should be something that looked at nationally, as an example?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. So
go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. When we look at that, for instance, and we think of, well, there's going to be a need for, initially, more people to be brought to the country to meet the needs for the construction. And then once it's complete, to be employed to service the needs of the guests and the facility, right? Are we looking at that? And again, I'm sharing this with you as I appreciate the exchange from another 3 individuals who are weighing in and commending you for your comments. is this a need now for a development plan of sorts that looks at the country as a whole, looks at the idea of where things are happening in a particular area, but how does that also affect the national economy, the national fabric, and the like? And is there now a need to consider, as this person is sharing, some sort of moratorium, for want of a better word, to say, listen, until we can catch our breath, what is it we're doing? Let me just share with you this person's perspective in that if supply chain issues, and I say that sometimes and wondering, what is it that we're really saying there and why? Hard to find material, labor is at a premium, and everything is overheated. Are we understanding what is transpiring relative to where things are, right? Do we now need to take a step back and look at the potential impact 5 years from now, 50 years from now?
My friend, let me tell you what economics in the world economics. I was reading something the other day. I do all kinds of wonderful fine things that are enlightening. You know what a Genghis Khan? You ever hear of Genghis Khan?
Yeah.
Okay, he was the greatest ruler in the world in the 12th century. Okay, they controlled everything from the Pacific to the Atlantic. But things change.
Okay, we're losing you in the wind.
Huh?
We're losing you with the wind right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
What has happened to us? Darling, is this. The people get so excited about when they see certain things happening. You know, I can give a good example. The United States of America was known for its generosity, its kindness. It's that people could go there and stay and all that stuff, and people live there and enjoy life in the because the presidents and the leadership of those days were genuinely looking to make the United States a better place for all. Now today, the United States is looked at almost like it's not what people used to like, about the United States, because you got a leadership, in my opinion, just like Great Britain. I just saw this last night where the European Union is upset with Boris and his group because what they're doing to Ireland. And I'm saying that we got greedy persons who are in charge now, and people, half of them, I mean, when I look at Biden as a president of the United States, he sometimes to me look like a robot, like somebody's handling him with a remote control or something. You know what I'm saying? No, really. And people don't know what to do.
Right.
Boris, he runs his mouth, but he's not doing anything. And what I'm saying is, until people get back to that place where they put God first, until we do that, we're not going to get ahead in this world.
Right.
We must look. You know what? I just can leave me now.
Well,
the Bible says you got all of these things. You have hope, faith, and charity, and all that
and
stuff.
love,
The greatest of these is what?
Love, right?
Charity.
Love, right? Isn't that love?
Charity. The greatest of these gifts are charity. So what I'm saying is, when we shouldn't have poor people who are suffering from all the stuff that we see going on now. When there's people that millions of dollars out there that's just put aside in some bank or something, and I understand the people that buy these bitcoins. You're talking about the surprise you're gonna get. It's not backed by anything,
But neither is the U.S. dollar.
Huh?
But neither is the U.S. dollar. It's a fiat currency.
No. So I'm saying it's not backed by anything. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
The U.S. currency, because before China bought up all the gold from the United States. They were selling the gold to China. So China is the only country in the world that got enough gold to back their money, I think. So,
but let me then ask you though, I do recognize the time and I appreciate your indulgence, but take two things that you've just shared, right? And even with the fiat currency, and you talk about the Bitcoin, you got the idea that central banks now want to create this digital currency. There are many who would weigh in as to the perspective and the importance and perhaps the motivation for it, but we can leave that for another time. Let's ask ourselves though. The scripture, talks about faith without works is dead. So if we have faith and if we don't, as you inferred, seek ye first the kingdom of God, right? If we're not willing to step up and stand in the gap and act and work and assemble and organize ourselves, how do we expect anything to happen? All right?
That's the thing. But we need people who are in charge that will. And I'm not saying that the government we don't have people up there that really. I know some of them are really good Christians, in my opinion, because they want to do the right thing. But what I'm saying is that we should never ever focus on this thing called money when we try to do what's right for God and for this island. Because I'm so disappointed sometimes that we're not. What can I say, Sterling? Let's continue to pray to Jesus, and God bless us.
All right. Well, amen to that. And as you go, I'll say this to you, come back to your initial point. And as you referenced Beach Bay, is part of the challenge that we have when we rezone things, we only rezone in a particular parcel or a particular assembly of parcels because it is for that project or for that proposal or the like.
Right. When we zone, so you can put a commercial, rezone something commercial in the middle of a residential area. That's what it amounts to.
Right, but should we not then look at what, if I understood what he shared many times publicly, former parliamentarian Mr. Ezra Miller said, we rezone it so that it benefits the entire area and not just that one parcel. What is it Mama says? Kisses go by favors, right? So are we continuing to do these things that A, creates an advantage while disadvantaging others, or B, creates the unfortunate perception and creates fodder for people to say, see, something here is transpiring that looks less than stellar. And we have to ask ourselves, are we not the ones that are creating these things that cause us to question and impugn and other times malign?
Okay, my friend, I said I'm going to have to leave you.
Yeah, man, you go ahead, man. You go ahead. Thank you, sir. Blessings to you.
Care.
All right, you too. Hey, listen, let's pause and take a break and invite you to call and share your thoughts. And you may have agreed with some, you may have agreed with none of it, you may have disagreed with all of it. I don't know. But if you share your thoughts, we will. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Subway is giving you flavor around the clock with the new Chicken Squad sandwich options. Try the classic chicken and bacon ranch, the sweet and savory barbecue chicken, or the chicken cordon bleu. 3 new appetizing and delicious sub options that you can also make into a wrap. The Chicken Squad is available at Subway for only a limited time. Subway, giving you something to cluck about.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art.
Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman are reminding customers that applications must be completed in full or they will not be accepted. In efforts to improve customer service and processing time, only fully completed applications will be accepted. Customers are responsible for providing the required information for the application to be processed and are encouraged to review the application checklist before submission. For guidance, visit www.worc.ky.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in time with a special look here on Saturday, 14th of May.
The Cayman Islands National Museum is hosting a fun interactive event in honor of Her Majesty's 70-year reign.
That's right.
Come along and witness the official reveal of the Miss Annie Huldebodden animatronic. Join the museum at the open-air, family-friendly event on Goring Avenue from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Okay.
Sample delicious local food and sweet treats. Enjoy live performances and take home handwork from local artisans. Enjoy the museum's Queen Jubilee.
Look here.
And see a moving likeness of another great lady. For more details, visit museum.ky.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that one.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Your Yesteryear Musical, Saturday evenings at 8 o'clock on Breeze Radio. Entertaining, enlightening, and inspirational. Topical with CI cultural and heritage flashbacks. And the wonderful music of yesteryear. From the Thomas Edison era to the recent past. Your Yesteryear Musical, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on Breeze Radio. 105.3 FM in Grand Cayman. And 91.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. We, according to the calendar, had guest schedule, but things transpire and they never materialize. But the show goes on, and that's the beauty of the live radio, despite the presence of the cameras in the studio that make it convenient for some to view us on YouTube. And if you do, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts, for taking your time to listen, to view, and to contribute. It's through this forum that we get to engage, perhaps to be informed, perhaps to sometimes, inform others, as we appreciate that what is transpiring is oftentimes influenced by what we do, and sometimes impact what we do. 949-8037, 949-8037. You can call and share a thought that way. You can dial us 949-6990. Or you can use the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. Either way, shout and share your thoughts with us. Also, WhatsApp 925-3261. Now to the caller's points. As we look at it, we heard much, said for many decades about the need for a development plan. Some have termed it in different ways, and as a result, we've heard talk about carrying capacity, not just for the sandbar, but for Central Georgetown and cruise ship days, for other things. Is it just talk? Do we understand the urgency? Is there an urgency? Do we stand in the importance? Is it important? But in addition to the carrying capacity or development plan, we've seen governments impose moratoriums on liquor licenses and hotels and the like. Are they effective and beneficial? If so, should we revisit and implement them for a time? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
The Botanic, a terrible mess. What they are doing, they are paving the roads from by the cemetery, the old Botanic cemetery across from the police station, and they're paving it right to the guardhouse hill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of what is going on with government and the traffic police or so, but they should have the respect and the audacity to let the police know in someone in traffic department to tell the traffic or conduct traffic to the bypass, which is by the Harvey Stevenson or development in the back there by the Bottom Town Primary School.
Mm-hmm.
It is as easy as having a police direct traffic is to let traffic hold up. This is a busy time. It's lunchtime. It's a busy time now. Children are coming out of school. Parents are out there picking up their kids. There's a lot of heavy equipment on the road, and I think they need to do something. When they are doing things about paving or restricting these roads, they need to get in contact with the police that's in the traffic department and coordinate something and let the people know what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
It takes like 2 and 3 hours just to get into town, and it's uncalled for. I mean, if you put two heads together, they will make sense. And I don't see why it has to be so a burden for all the people that are coming into town or going out of town into the Bottom Town area. It needs to have some traffic control along with the roads authority and the police in the traffic department. So I don't know if you can call someone and find out, can let the people that's on the road, the pedestrians and the drivers know that the road is being held up for at least 2 or 3 hours.
Well, I'll make a note and see, but hopefully as you share that now, people would be cognizant and maybe do something that can help, at least you said, make it a little bit safer as you traverse, those areas. Can I ask, and only if you wish to respond, I know you had referenced the cemetery in the sports area. Did you get a satisfactory response to that?
No, I haven't, and I keep saying to myself, I'm not sure what is happening, but the other day I was crossing and I said, if it's such a big problem, they can take a little 3 feet or so from the parking lot and just use the entrance there because there's nothing into the parking lot. And I mean, it is easier said than done just to slip the fence from the cemetery, the old fence, and just take a few feet off from the parking lot.
Okay.
I don't know who is in charge or what is in charge or whoever, but it's just like what I said. Something needs to be done, and no one will voice their opinion, or it's a lot of people that are so afraid to call the radio station. Yeah. And if you open your mouth, you'll never get anything done. And even when you open it, you still don't get anything done. But I was just waiting to see what was going to happen before I called back because I cross there every day. And I'm saying to myself, how hard is it for them to take off a few feet from the parking lot? I mean, they have this big parking lot for people just to park there and go to the beach. What about the people that go to funerals and have to park? I mean, where are you going to take the casket? On the main road and make someone, come on. People that have an insight see what I'm talking about.
Well, I know that we had shared publicly an immediate response from the director, and they had, as he shared, went to look at it after your query. I know that we get frustrated sometimes with what seems to be the bureaucracy, and maybe for us, not quite cognizant of the little steps that have to be taken. But we'll continue to advocate on your behalf, and I'm confident it'll be resolved.
Or even maybe the piece of property on the other side that's been there for a long time. Maybe since the government is so ready to purchase land and stuff, maybe they'll be able to purchase that piece of property and extend the cemetery and have a bigger gate from that side.
Is that the adjoining piece or on the opposite side of the road?
That piece of, no, right on the other side, on the east side of the cemetery.
Okay.
Maybe the government can find out who owns it, and maybe they can purchase that because that's been there a long time. And maybe they can extend it since the graveyards are getting so filled up and so many people are being buried here. Maybe they could purchase that and extend the spot cemetery.
Again, so many demands on us now that we need to take a breather perhaps to be able to prioritize and to take stock. But it's people like you who have courage to advocate publicly that may cause us to think. But you are right. Those who do get castigated in the line. I mean, I've said some things here from time to time to evoke a sense of discussion, and it's created discord in some quarters. It may have...
I'm short, but I can take it.
You're leader with great resolve and resilience. Yes.
I can take it. Yeah. I can take it, we're not the only, we Caymanians are not the only ones that gets downgraded and belittled and this and that. But you know what? It's many of us that can take it, and we don't care what they say. Because you know what? Life has to go on, so.
Well, if...
I'm not one of them to be afraid of so many people. I'm not one of them that they're going to try to scare me.
Well, they said dapper no frightened, no?
That's right. And I'm a dapper myself, so they're not going to frighten me. Anyway, you have a good afternoon, Sterling.
Thank you. You too as well. Be safe, be well. All right?
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You know, this is one of the many reasons I love this place. And thanks to that lady, like so many. They are wonderful examples. Quick little pause. When we come back, hey, share a thought. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Cayman, get ready for Blossom Premium All-Inclusive. Come enjoy ambience, sweet soca music, and a star-powered cast featuring Edwin Yearwood, Vashti, Red Plastic Bag, Aside, and Show Wayne Winchester. Thursday, 30th June at the National Gallery. Party time 7 p.m. to midnight. Dress code light cocktail attire. Blossom Premium All-Inclusive for KMS Carnival, a production of Calabra and SW Limited.
Have you heard? This year's Queen Botanic Park 5K Run Walk will be taking place on Sunday, June 19th to raise funds for the Children's Garden. Race starts at 6:30 a.m. Registration is just $25 and you get a free t-shirt, breakfast, not to mention a chance to win a prize. They even have a prize for the best fascinator design. Guess I need to make one of them.
Register now at racecaribbean.net. Sponsored by the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage, Ministry of Tourism and Transport, Cayman National Bank, Davenport Development, Coca-Cola, Water Authority Cayman, Logic, Cree Global, Cayman Rehab Services.
Celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in time with a special look here on Saturday, 14th of May.
The Cayman Islands National Museum is hosting a fun interactive event in honor of Her Majesty's 70-year reign.
That's right.
Come along and witness the official reveal of the Miss Annie Huldebodden animatronic. Join the museum at the open-air, family-friendly event on Goring Avenue from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Okay.
Sample delicious local food and sweet treats. Enjoy live performances and take home handwork from local artisans. Enjoy the museum's Queen Jubilee.
Look here.
And see a moving likeness of another great lady. For more details, visit museum.ky.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that one.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Cayman trees. They're marvelous, ingrained in our heritage. Did you know in the 1900s we were a major exporter of coconuts? More than 1 million per year. Of course, we know about our silver thatch, used for everything from roofs to brooms to hats and mats, and of course rope. To celebrate Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, you are invited to plant a tree for the Jubilee. Let us reseed our heritage in our soil. Join your neighbors for the Queen's Green Canopy and plant 1, 2, 3, or more of her native, endemic, or fruit-bearing trees. Register your tree and leave your green print at www.gov.ky/National Tree Planting or follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Plant a tree for the Jubilee. Proudly brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government Ministry for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Let's green Cayman now.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 949-8037, 949-6990. The two numbers you can dial, and it'll cost you a couple of cents to share your thought. Or you can use the Flow toll-free line, and with their compliments, they'll pick up the tab and you can talk. 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Let's share a couple of thoughts from our WhatsApp. This one reads, so just like the immigration policies, if they have been enforced or implemented, the need to go out and inspect properties where work permit holders are required to complete to say that they live and rent, then perhaps these places that are unfit and are termed housing, they're so substandard, they would not be placed in this ghetto environment that we are now encountering. And it says just like the litter is now a part of, almost everywhere. If our litter laws were being enforced, then this wouldn't be the embarrassing topic that we are experiencing in reality today. Well, like much, we may have a law, but it's not enforced. We may have a law that has been updated, and so the penalties or the consequences are so insignificant, negligible, that some people don't even think it's necessary. But like much, we need to kind of look at it from the perspective of, again, I ask, is it a law that we need, or is it more of an instance we need to look at things from the view that the country's ethos needs to be one that speaks to these things? All right, let's look at this other WhatsApp message. If I can quickly pull it back up on the screen. Says, good afternoon. So listen to the Talk Today show, and a gentleman mentioned that tenants are being, taken advantage of by landlords or homeowners who rent a room or an apartment. I'd also like to mention that landlords are also being taken advantage of by the tenants who leave their apartments badly damaged. That not even the deposit at times are sufficient to cover the costs, and because there's nothing put in place by law in the Cayman Islands that would support landlords in these instances. Tenants are often not held responsible for damages or costs inflicted upon the property owners. As I read verbatim, the costs that exceeds the deposit taken upon the entry into a rental contract is often left to the landlords to foot the bill, which is very unfair and unethical. I'm not aware of any law firms that are willing to provide services that will aid support to landlords in these instances, such as assistance with regaining back the excess losses so that tenants are held responsible. Contracts can be put in place, but often tenants leave and feel that deposit held back is sufficient. But things are very expensive for repairs or replacements of furniture, appliances, or even unpaid utilities. And something has to be done to support landlords in these instances, so that tenants no longer can take advantage of landlords in this instance. Laws need to be enforced for support landlords as well. Well, I appreciate that context, and as we were sharing, we can have laws, but if they're not enforced, then really what's the point? But then you may say, well, it's naive. We don't live in a perfect world. We don't live in utopia. The question is, if the ethos is one that has inculcated a sense of honesty and integrity, that you, as a tenant, will treat a space better than you would treat your own, and that knowing that you will treat your own with absolute, respect and a sense of appreciation, but someone else's space, place, car, or thing even better. You don't need necessarily anything more than, gone are the days, sadly, of a handshake and a look you in the whites of your eyes and, your word is your bond. But so too, like the landlords. There are many places, and perhaps, sadly, maybe increasingly so in our own country, where the term, a slumlord has become accepted and celebrated. Do we want that? Is that what we want? It doesn't mean that the space is small or not as lavishly appointed as some places. It doesn't mean that it should not be a clean, safe, habitable space. Habitable being the operative word. Now, what about the allegations that some of us have experienced where we have consciously purchased a piece of land, left it in its undeveloped state, perhaps because we don't intend to build on it then, we want it for future generations, but someone may be, through a deliberate conscious effort, gradually encroaching on that property. Perhaps they're using it as a way to gain access to their adjoining properties. Now, if we have the wonderful land registry system that we have, let's give us an example. Let's say that has occurred. You have a piece of property, a person has a piece behind it. There is no legal registered right of way across your property to that other person's property. Should that person be able to traverse your land and gain access to theirs, acquire a right, and by the same token, perhaps take possession of yours over time? Now, that may or may not have happened in the past. That may or may not be happening now. There are those of you who will say, well, yeah, that should be the case. Some of you said no. Laws like, adverse possession and all sorts of things come in. We know jurisdictions. I'm told in France, for instance, and other European countries, the practice of squatting is a real thing. But we also understand that there are places here. Take, for instance, the gating of, say, Webster's Estates, for instance, from Walker's Road to South Church Street. Is it public? Is it private? Is it a prescriptive right? Is it a access that should have been closed because of the constant through traffic that creates angst for the homeowners in that area? Is it similar to the closure of public beach accesses, whether in Camelback or along West Bay Beach? Again, sit quietly and things transpire, and who knows what will happen. We'll take the break. When we come back, more talk today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
National Museum's Lukia Her Majesty's Jubilee celebrations are to take place on Saturday, June 18th from 5:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. The RCIPS is advising the public that there will be road closures to facilitate the event. Goring Avenue will be closed between South Church Street and Louise Llewellyn Way. Motorists are advised to exercise caution and use Warwick Drive as an alternate route during these times. In international news, the British government vowed Wednesday to organize more flights to deport asylum seekers from around the world to Rwanda after a last-minute court judgment grounded the first plane due to take off under the contentious policy. The Home Secretary said preparation for the next flight begins now, despite legal rulings that none of the migrants earmarked for deportation could be sent to the East African country. The Biden administration announced on Wednesday it was providing an additional $1 billion in military aid to Ukraine to fight Russia, a package that includes shipments of additional howitzers, ammunition, and coastal defense systems. U.S. President Joe Biden spoke by phone with the Ukrainian president on Wednesday ahead of the announcement. And Dolly Parton is donating $1 million to pediatric infectious disease research at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, the organization announced on Wednesday. The new gift is one of several Parton has made to the center over the years, including a $1 million gift in April 2020 for COVID vaccine research. The gift helped Vanderbilt researchers test an array of drugs aimed at reducing the life-threatening symptoms associated with COVID-19, the center said in a news release. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We wanna go and dally.
Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Backyard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Backyard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Backyard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday live music brunch.
Backyard.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advance notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. And as we go into the remaining 25 minutes or so of today's production, we invite you to call and share your thoughts. 8949-8037, toll free with the compliments of Flow if you choose. 1800. That's 1-800-534-8255. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Hey, my good friend. How are you today, man? Good to hear from you.
Oh, not too bad, man. I would have loved to come join you today, but I had so much stuff to do, and traffic is like it's like trying to figure out how to build a pyramid.
Well, if you will accept my public apology, had I known that my schedule would have materialized the way it did, I would have called you much earlier. Because having your company and insight always invokes a sense of informed discussion. So hopefully,
I sincerely appreciate those comments. Obviously, I seize any opportunity I get to come in there and have the conversation and the dialogue on many different issues, not just one. But obviously, I was listening into the show as I was commuting around, doing my errands and doing some stuff, and I was listening to different people talk. And one thing that is a clear consensus is that everybody share very similar views when it comes to certain topics. And I had the opportunity to listen to some of the speech that Mr. Saunders had in regards to financial service industry and tourism. And what I found very interesting, Sterling, I tell you, is that it's not very often we get a politician, worse a politician that's in a deputy premier position, to openly have these sort of conversations, which is the reality. So I would just first like to say I appreciate any politician who have the bravery to do so. And the situation, I think, in a nutshell, is that basically if Cayman is going to be subjected to the level of sanctions that we get to stay on the white list or the gray list or whichever list it is that accepts us, the financial service industry may find some struggles down the road, and we need to put a lot more emphasis on the pillar, on the second pillar, which was pretty much gone in the last 2 years because of COVID. We need to figure out how to maximize our benefits and finances from that industry, plus diversify and generate revenue in other areas, that we don't be solely reliant on these two alone. So it's not often we get to hear politicians talk about those things in its true form of reality, and that was very refreshing, because it's what he was talking about is very possible. Unless we get a group of guys that are willing to stand up in the fear of being, they always use, if we don't do what the FCO say, will they be forced us into independent? That's been the scaremongering tool they've used for decades. But what I would like to say is this: when are we going to sit down as a country, as a people, as a government, and have a conversation about the possibility of independence and why we don't have a contingency plan in place in case one day it won't, because one day it's going to become their choice, not ours. One day they're going to pick a date, and then what we're going to do? We're going to decide to pick up the pieces and try to look for a plan then? No, we should have that plan in place now, so that when we negotiate sanctions and different policies that we don't agree with, we're in a better bargaining position.
Right. And as I listen to you, right, I'm asking myself, given the way our elected governance structure seems to be unfolding, are we mindful of the potential financial obligations that one government is imposing on subsequent governments? And I'll give us an example. The much discussed Auditor General's report recently, and the surrounding allegations of whether it was leaked or this and that, and the motivations. One of the things, just as an aside, was that a government did something that is to the tune of a few $1 million going to impact a subsequent government doing something. Doesn't matter whether the thing was good or not. And I'm looking at a message and rereading it and asking, based on what you just shared, should government of the day have the ability to do as it wishes relative to expenditure, whether it's borrowing lots of money, whether it's spending money on infrastructure, or should there be, similar to what the government in the UK wanted, well, if you're going to spend more than this as a part of your debt service, then you need to come to us to get approval. Do we need to say to our governance structure, you can't spend more than this without some sort of public input? Not necessarily to legislate by the referendum, but at least a consciousness of it.
Well, okay. So I think we're all pretty clear on the framework of fiscal responsibility at this point, right? And that is to obviously govern and limit the expenditure by any government based on value for money, in my opinion, right? So yes, we need to be super mindful on how we spend the public purse, because if we look at the social deterioration of the public in general, it has been largely because of the institutions that we have allowed to overflow with things that we don't necessarily need in terms of, let's say, for instance, hypothetically, let's just say the amount of people who have driver's license. We have a revenue that's generated from issuing driver's license. So therefore, we don't put a cap on it to say, okay, can 500,000, and I'm speaking hypothetically, can 500,000 driver's license people traverse, efficiently on the road structure that we have, the infrastructure? No, they can't. But we're looking at the value of that as opposed to the impact of that, right? So again, when we talk about how we spend the public purse, we need to first worry about how we earn in the public purse, and what repercussions are we getting from those things, and how can we better manage those things. Now, we've been sidebarring the issue of properly managed public purse through government, because we all have the inclination to believe that government dollar worth 25 cents. And we see where they, in some cases, well, in most cases, allow overspending and wasteful money. I mean, just look at the airport, for instance, right? Millions of dollars wasted, no heads rolled. No one were held accountable. So,
but is that a problem, though, that we're not only insisting that we get value for money, as you just shared? Why is it that the government dollar's on 25 cents? Why aren't we ensuring that a dollar's a dollar, right? And then secondly, what about accountability? Whether it's the airport, whether it was schools, whether it's roads, whether it's whatever. What is it about us that seems to accept that?
Well, then I have to then reverse my car into the driving spot of the framework for physical responsibility, because somehow, seemingly, we as a people have not collectively held any politician accountable for their actions that have clearly and consistently abused the public purse. So when the FCO, which is our colonial master, step in and say, hey, you know what? Since you guys are not taking into consideration long-term effects of your spending habits, we may need to step in and help you, navigate this particular thing. Now, I only say all of what I said to say this. I think that Caymanian people are very resilient. They're very smart. I think we have the experts and the right group of people. I just think that until we start to hold these persons that are in the position that creates our consequences accountable, we'll never see any real results.
Right.
That's why I started out the conversation by saying it's refreshing to hear that the deputy premier can say, in 10 years, if things continue the way they are, the financial services might take a hit, and we may have to rely more heavily on tourism, because we haven't had any politician in the past. I mean, we saw where the framework for physical responsibility kicked in back in 2009-10. Then we seen where the platform for beneficial ownership, which is sanction put on our financial services, was signed off by Alden and his group, and these are the things that create a lot of strain and hindrances within that industry, because they keep telling us, oh, we want to create a level playing field or create a money laundering free. No, this is about competitiveness. The jurisdictions in which we compete with are those who are pushing for these sanctions so that Cayman can become just like them, but less attractive, so that they can take our business. And that's the whole long and short. We need government who can negotiate better. But anyway, I'll leave you there.
You can, Mike, and thank you for that. And maybe I was just going to invite you to, one last thing. The Deputy Premier, as Minister of Finance, Mr. Saunders, his sentiments relative to tourism leads me to sort of ask within my mind two things. First, when members of the legal fraternity were voicing concerns relative to the legal practitioners bill and the potential reputational damage as a result of that, and the loss of revenues under what allegedly is transpiring. And then secondly, let's take Beach Bay, for instance. Let's take the proposed hotel that has been on the deck. Was it now? Over a decade. I mean, that's been discussed for the longest time, right? In his comments about looking at tourism, one, what are we doing to ensure that more people who are already in country, Caymanians in particular, can take up the lucrative employment being offered by expanded tourism properties? And two, to what extent those comments on any potential positioning by governments would benefit developers at the expense of communities, would benefit not just future employment by those on work permit, to the extent that it may displace graduating Caymanian students or even those in the sector. So where is the development plan for the country going forward?
Well, you know what? You said a mouthful, Sterling. You said a mouthful. And the reality is that until we have certain structure in place prior to the incentives or motivation towards increasing our tourism product, we also need to educate and increase our harvest of Caymanian people who can participate and share into the economic success in that industry.
Right.
Now, when you hear me say infrastructure growth and infrastructure design, that means that there's a lot of changes that need to be made to the current system, and it's going to upset a lot of people. But if we always have to worry about the repercussions and the offending and people getting upset to put the right thing in place, because I believe strongly that in that industry there's space and room for every participant once we have the structured limitations of how many people for how many areas of that they're supposed to be in, and that what is reserved and what is preserved for the Caymanian brand and the Caymanian participation, then there should be no problem. The problem has always been is that those who reap the most lobby the hardest to keep it the way it is, and that's been our greatest hindrance. So until we can, and as you said, it's okay to say that this is what we're gearing towards and this is what we want. But where is the strategic planning that's going to go behind implementing that is effective and that it works? So, but anyway, I think this is a good conversation that we should have a roundtable debate with a few members from the sector in different areas and have a good conversation about that, because we need to grow not only our tourism product, but we need to grow our tourism participation of Caymanians in that product. And the only way to do that is to implement strong. And I would have to say offensive laws that is going to accommodate, in my opinion. Yeah, man.
Well, it certainly needs much more thought and like you said, a strategic approach. Hey, thanks very much, man. You always evoke good conversation. Hopefully I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
You too. Quick break, 2 calls. Let's do it all. Stay tuned.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vant Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
For the Health of It is heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and repeated on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. It is brought to you by Holy Cross Health. Quality medical care and advanced technology with sincere compassion and understanding. Our mission is you. Call 1-954-351-5906. Email global services at holy-cross.com or visit Holy Cross Health at holy-cross.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. We had a couple of calls. Thank you for sharing as we go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Dwayne.
And to you, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you. I just like to say real quickly, a happy birthday to Reba Delbert,
yes.
the queen of the Badminton, as we all know. And costume making and so forth for birthday. Happy birthday to her. I just say real quickly, we all have our own opinions as which way to move forward and so forth. And we could take the opinions of the 23,000 voters here and try to arrive at one. What will happen, never has happened. Our elected representatives do the best that they can, but we're a very divided people, very divided and very unappreciative, ungrateful, and complaining people to observe this the last 4 or 5 years, or a little bit more now. And as I've always said and maintained for over the last 25 years, and I've never backed down from it, we are going to have to implement direct income tax here and relieve the burden of onerous and unbearable consumption-based taxation system only. So simple that I cannot, for the life of me, see how it escapes the logic of everyone. It's so simple that we have it based much more on a direct income tax. What you earn is what you pay on. So therefore, we could relieve a lot of the onerous consumption-based taxes, which include duties, taxation on many different things, health, and so forth, and create just two things with a national plan in mind: national health plan, national pension plan, and so forth. It's so very simple. The machinery is already there, so we do not have to create new positions to manage and control what I just said. Believe me, I am absolutely certain of what I said. We are going to have to do it. We'll see a difference. We will see a difference, because you cannot have price control without some form of direct income tax to see where the gains and losses are, and people must show you what they're earning, companies and the controllers of those companies, what they're earning, their profit margin, and why they can live the life that they live, and stop telling people, I'm earning $80,000 a year when you're driving a $100,000 car and you have a $4 million house, and et cetera, and et cetera. No, that won't happen with that situation. Then people will be fairly taxed, and that is it. As I've said from the long ago, that is my solution. I represent my thoughts, and I will never, ever back down from that. And I'm willing to debate it with the greatest economists, accountants, lawyers, everything. That, to me, is a way forward. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
You too, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let's take another call. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, sir.
And to you, pleasant good afternoon.
Got two callers to thank. The taxman who just hung up. Thank you, sir, very much for keeping it on the front burner and not changing, because I was listening to program this morning and we want to slip and slide, but everybody else does it. I don't know why we can't do it, why we can't get ahead. People here make $6 an hour, $6.50 an hour approximately, and people here make maybe $1,000 an hour. There's a heck of a difference. And they'll always talk it down, because one thing the people that come here off the sovereign nation of Wayne Roberts International don't want is for Caymanians to prosper. So thanking the taxman. Then thanking Mr. the caller before him. Whoop, whoop, sir, that's all I ever have to say to you. And I'm saying to you, don't ever stop. They got their foot on your neck, but don't you ever stop, because God has blessed you too much for you to contemplate giving up. You are young enough. You don't have to do that. Last time I saw you, you look strong enough. One day you will be successful. The gift you have is the gift God gave you of intelligence, and the gift you still have left in the bank called time. And that's what plenty of the rest of us don't have, is time. We surely don't have the intelligence, and neither do we have the time. So you keep on trying, young man. Surprise me according to your own standards. Surprise me, because I know that you must have given up by now. So surprise me before I did. You keep on trying. You keep on trying. One day you will be successful, because that huge intelligence that you have need to work for us in a different. You work for us as much as you can, I know, but it need to work for us in a different way. And we don't have any more than God gave us. None of us.
And He will not give us more than we can bear, huh?
He tell you consider him your friend. You keep on pushing him.
Yeah.
Every day. He got time. That's what the youth have that old people don't have time.
Yeah. See, I if it's okay and you'll accept what I intend to convey as a compliment, you not only share publicly the things that displease you, but you quickly identify and compliment the things that you think need, people to be reminded. And I appreciate you sharing it, so that we give the flowers while we can, and people can appreciate it.
I got plenty of flowers to give him. If I only had my garden coming back, I can plant roses again.
There you go.
Yes, young man, keep it up. You got time. Don't be discouraged by any obstacle or straw that they put in your way. I know they're always searching and putting, but every time they drop something, you know that is because you are indeed touched by God, and your intelligence is huge.
Don't let them despise you because of your youth, huh?
We don't like that. I'm an old person. Look at him. The kid, man, look at him. Look at him. I'm gone.
All right. Thank you for that. Bye. As the callers have reminded us, perhaps you may look at the perspective and say, well, something needs to be done, but you're not willing to do it because you're not this, that, or the other. And you may, despite your awareness, if you don't even want to say your knowledge of the scriptures and the examples that I'm sure we've heard at some point, whether in Catholic school, whether it was in passing because of a grandmother or the like, or those who seemed to be less able, but yet were so, so gifted. And what is it we're told? God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. And to the later just call the young man, as you reference, message to say, very, very appreciative, and to thank you so much for your kind words of encouragement. As we reflect on that, maybe we need to ask. We've heard it often, but is it now something that we're hearing and motivates and moves us? Are we prepared to stand in the gap? Something needs to be done. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Caller before, the gentleman talked about the concessions that are being granted to many developers. He used the sum 25 million. Perhaps over the years, there have been tens of millions of dollars to many projects. Is that something that needs to be revisited? Not something that needs to be discontinued. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it needs to be expanded. Perhaps it needs to be extended to others. Perhaps it needs to be changed. There are those, like the gentleman before the last caller talked about, the need for taxes, whether direct income taxes, payroll taxes. There are those who suggest some sort of tax. Let's not use any other word, or like fee or otherwise, on money remittances that are sent from the country, irrespective of how they are sent from the country, whether they are the Casa de Cambios or whether they are from the commercial banks. What about taxes on property? Should it be over a certain sum? Should it be only on purchases that are speculative, purchases where the land is unoccupied, whether it's a vacant property or developed property and it's rarely used? Many of you would say that as we look at what we're doing, is consideration being had to the potential to create a system where, as a people, we become very dependent on government. So there's a social welfare state, not a level of socialism, but everybody is on the, what's that famous colonial song, the Bob list? You know, we want to get on that. Or is it a case where, as we look at what is happening, we are seeing, again, a term that some of you have talked about, you know, a corporate welfare system where through concessions, tax breaks and others, they are accruing to developers and businesses, but at expense of the country and its citizens. Now, when we look at what happens within, you know, the planning realm, are we confusing and conflating the Central Planning Authority with the technical expertise of the planning department? Are we blaming the planning department for the actions or inactions of the Central Planning Authority, the CPA? Is it that the CPA as a body needs to be perhaps revamped or completely dissolved like other things? Or does it need to be expanded and the like, and perhaps move into the districts as opposed to a centralized planning authority that can approve, amend, or delay applications? Things to consider. But I think what we would say is that when we do so objectively, impartially, and very, very honestly, then the outcomes will be better. So that if John comes in with application A and Jean a day or a year later comes in with a similar application, the expectation that it'll be treated and dealt with in the same way, not like how some would have probably heard many say, and I've repeated it often, you know, cases go by favors. It's an honor and a privilege to sit here. There are times when, I'll be honest with you, on your behest, I've said certain things that may have caused a bit of consternation on the part of many. It's not to incite you so that you become inflamed. It's to incite you so that you think, act, and be responsible and responsive in a way that is inclusive, loving, and above all, you know, respectful of past sacrifices of those who gone before, and appreciation that those who come after should look at us as being people who consider their well-being, and they can look at us with a sense of gratitude. When you come back tomorrow, it's something that we've been working with. We have Mr. Leonard Dilbert join us. We have a series with him, and it's part of what we're going to term, you know, a Thoughtful Thursday. God's willing, as we roll it out, you may be inclined. You know, last Thursday we had I think, interesting series of discussions. We ended it off with Mr. Roy Borden and his wonderful wife, Miss Riva, and we got to reflect on our people. He has a great book. This Saturday, they look here at the National Museum with all the artists and their mangoes and the like. Well, he'll be out there. Listen, enjoy yourselves for the rest of the afternoon. We've seen, sadly, an increase in accidents on our roads. If nothing else, you know, maybe say a little prayer before you drive for all of us who are on our roads. Perhaps slow down for a second. Perhaps pull over and maybe make somebody else drive. You gotta ask yourself, you know, do you want to get there late or do you want to not get there at all? Your call. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village.